The Villa in Tuscany. Part 1. The phone call. I never thought that a single phone call could split your life into before and after. But that's exactly what happened on a Tuesday afternoon in March while I was folding laundry in my cramped Boston apartment. Sweetie, we need to talk about the wedding dates. My mother's voice had that particular tone, the one she used when she'd already made a decision and was just going through the motions of pretending I had a say. Mom, Ben and I were thinking maybe September? The weather should be— That's the thing, honey. She cut me off gently. The way you'd interrupt a child who doesn't understand they're asking for something impossible. Your sister just got engaged. Can you believe it? Finally. And, well, you know how Rachel is. She's always dreamed of a fall wedding. The leaves, the colors, all of that. I stopped folding the towel in my hands. Mom, Ben and I got engaged 8 months ago. We've been planning— I know. But here's the thing. Your father and we've been saving for Rachel's wedding for years. You know how important this is to her. It's all she's talked about since she was a little girl. And Frank, that's her fiancé, his family is quite prominent in Connecticut. There will be expectations. The towel slipped from my fingers. How much have you saved for Rachel's wedding? I heard myself ask. Well, we've put aside about $75,000. Not as much as we'd hoped, but with Frank's family contributing, it should be enough for something really special. The country club, a live band, that photographer she's been following on Instagram, crystallized. Became hard and sharp and absolutely clear. And for mine, silence, the kind that fills your ears like cotton. Mom, how much have you and Dad saved from my wedding? Sweetheart, you have to understand. You've always been so independent. You put yourself through college. You got that good job at the marketing firm. You never needed us the way Rachel does. She's more delicate. More— How much, Mom? Another pause. Then, quietly, we were planning to contribute $5,000. $5,000 versus $75,000. I looked around my apartment, the one I'd rented with my own money, furnished with my own purchases, built with my own 2 hands while living the independent life they'd always praised me for. The independence that apparently meant I deserved less, that I should expect less, that I should be grateful for the scraps. I see, I said. You're not upset, are you? Mia, honey, this is just practical. Rachel needs the support. She's working part-time at that boutique, and Frank is still in grad school. They need help getting started. You and Ben are already established. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. The blessing and the curse of being competent. When is Rachel's wedding? I asked. September 23rd. That's not your date, is it? It is. Was. Oh, she had the grace to sound slightly uncomfortable. Well, surely you can change it. You haven't sent out invitations yet, have you? I had. They were sitting in a box by my door, addressed and stamped, ready to mail the next morning. 200 cream-colored envelopes with our names in elegant script. Mia Catherine Hartley and Benjamin James Morrison request the pleasure of your company. Not yet. I lied. Perfect! Then it's settled. This works out so well. And Mia, thank you for being understanding about this. This is why you've always been my easiest daughter. You just get it. After we hung up, I sat on my couch for a long time, staring at those boxes of invitations. Ben came home an hour later to find me still sitting there, a half-folded towel in my lap. Babe, you okay? I looked up at him, this man I'd chosen to build a life with, this person who'd never once made me feel like I should settle for less. And something inside me shifted. How much money do we have saved? I asked. For the wedding? About $30,000. Why? No, total, in all our accounts. He sat down beside me, concerned now. What's going on? Just tell me. Between both of us, maybe $200,000. But Mia, that's our house fund, our emergency savings. How would you feel about spending it? On what? I picked up my phone and pulled up a website I'd been looking at obsessively for months. A guilty pleasure, a fantasy I'd never thought I'd actually pursue. Villa Rosa in Tuscany. $6 million of breathtaking Renaissance architecture perched on a hillside overlooking vineyards and olive groves, available for private events, starting at $150,000 for a week. On making sure, I said slowly, that we never settle for being anyone's afterthought ever again. Ben stared at the screen, then at me, then back at the screen. Mia, this is insane. Is it? We're talking about our entire savings, our future, our what, Ben? Our future in a city where we'll never afford a house anyway? Our future where we're always second best? Where we're always the sensible, practical, understanding ones who make room for everyone else's dreams? I stood up, the words pouring out now. 29 years of being the good daughter, finally finding their voice. My parents have been saving for Rachel's wedding since she was 16. 16, Ben. Do you know what they were saving for me when I was 16? My college fund, which I paid back through student loans because Rachel needed her college fund for a semester abroad in Paris. Her dream, they said, her one chance. And I understood. I was sensible about it. I paced now, the apartment suddenly too small. When Rachel wanted to move to New York to find herself after college, who do you think paid her rent for 2 years? And when I needed help with my deposit for this place, what did I get? A lecture about fiscal responsibility and making it on my own. Ben reached for my hand, but I wasn't done. Every birthday, every Christmas, every single milestone, Rachel gets the celebration, the attention, the investment. And I get a card that says, "We're so proud of how independent you are." Like independence was my choice. Like I wouldn't have loved to be coddled and cherished and made to feel like I was worth the investment. My voice cracked. They have $75,000 for her wedding, Ben. They have $5,000 for mine. And I'm supposed to understand. I'm supposed to move my date. I'm supposed to smile and nod and be fine because I'm always fine. I pulled up the Villa website again. I don't want to be fine anymore. I want to be extraordinary. I want one day, 1 week where I am the priority, where I am the dream worth investing in, where I prove to myself, if not to them, that I am worth more than their afterthought. Ben was quiet for a long time. Then he took the phone from my hands and studied the pictures. The honey-colored stone walls, the cypress trees lining the driveway, the terraced gardens with their ancient fountains, the view that stretched forever across the Tuscan countryside. We'd have nothing left, he said finally. We'd have everything that matters, and we'd have a story that's entirely ours. He looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw the moment he understood. This wasn't about a wedding. This was about claiming space in a world that had always asked me to make myself smaller. Okay, he said, let's do it. Just like that? He pulled me into his arms. Mia, I fell in love with you because you're brilliant and capable, and you make things happen. But I've always known there was this part of you that you held back. This part that wanted permission to want more, to demand more. If this is what it takes for you to claim that part of yourself, then hell yes, let's go to Tuscany. Let's have the wedding of the century. And let's never apologize for taking up space again. I kissed him then, and tasted salt from tears I hadn't realized I was crying. We called the villa that night. Through a translator, we spoke with the estate manager, Signora Martinelli, who had a voice like warm honey and seemed utterly delighted by our enthusiasm. Yes, September was available. Yes, they could accommodate up to 100 guests. Yes, they had relationships with the finest caterers, florists, musicians, and photographers in Tuscany. The deposit alone was $50,000. I entered my banking information with shaking hands. Signorina, Signora Martinelli said before we hung up, May I say something? In my 30 years managing Villa Rosa, I have seen many weddings. The ones I remember are not always the biggest or the most expensive. They are the ones where I can feel that something important is happening, that people are not just marrying, they are becoming. I think yours will be one I remember. After we hung up, Ben and I sat in stunned silence. We just spent $50,000, he said. We did. On a villa in Italy? We did. Your parents are going to lose their minds. I smiled. Probably. Part 3. The announcement. I waited 3 days before calling my mother back. 3 days during which Ben and I canceled our local venue, contacted our vendors about the change in location, and began the dizzying process of planning a destination wedding in a country neither of us had ever visited. 3 days during which I practiced what I would say, how I would say it, the tone I would use. In the end, I kept it simple. Mom, I wanted to let you know that Ben and I have finalized our wedding plans. Oh, wonderful! Did you pick a new date? Spring would be lovely. April maybe, or May. Actually, we're keeping September 23rd. Pause. Mia, we discussed this. That's Rachel's date. No, Mom, that was my date. I chose it 11 months ago. I reserved the venue, booked the photographer, ordered the invitations. It's my date. But Rachel can choose any of the other 364 days in the year. I heard her inhale sharply. Mia Catherine Hartley, what has gotten into you? Clarity, Mom. Finally. This is so selfish. This isn't like you at all. Maybe that's the problem. Another pause. Then her voice tight. Where are you even having this wedding since you're being so stubborn about the date? Tuscany. At a private villa. Silence. Complete, ringing silence. Then, Tuscany. As in, Italy? Yes. You're having a destination wedding. In Italy. On Rachel's date. My date, Mom. Do you have any idea how expensive that will be? How difficult? What about your guests? What about the family? We've thought about all of that. We're inviting 50 people, close friends and family only. We'll cover accommodations for the week for anyone who wants to come. A week? You expect people to take a week off work to come to Italy for your wedding? The people who matter will make it work. The ones who don't won't come. Either way, we'll know who our people really are. I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line. And what about our contribution, the $5,000? Here it was, the moment. Keep it, Mom. Give it to Rachel. She clearly needs it more. Mia, I'm not being petty. I'm being honest. You've made it clear where your priorities lie. That's fine. You're entitled to your choices. But so am I. And I choose not to settle for being anyone's second choice anymore. Not even my parents. How dare you? Mom, I love you. I do. But I'm done being the easy one, the understanding one, the one who sacrifices so Rachel can shine. I hope you and Dad have a wonderful time at Rachel's wedding. I genuinely mean that. But I won't be there. I'll be in Tuscany, marrying the man I love, in a place that makes me feel like I'm worth the investment. You're really not going to your sister's wedding? I really hope she doesn't come to mine, since she'll be busy getting married that same day. The irony seemed lost on her. Your father will have something to say about this. I'm sure he will. I'll make sure to send you pictures. I hung up before she could respond, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. Ben pulled me close. How do you feel? Terrified, exhilarated, free. Good, he whispered into my hair. That's exactly right. Part 4. The fallout. The next 2 weeks were a masterclass in family drama. My father called, his voice that particular shade of disappointed that had always made me crumble as a child. I let it roll over me like water now. This guilt that used to shape my every decision. Rachel texted 47 times, ranging from confusion to fury to tearful pleas. I read them all, responded to none. My mother's friends started calling, the family network activating to bring the rebellious daughter back in line. Aunt Susan, cousin Jennifer, even my grandmother, who hadn't spoken to me in 3 years, suddenly had opinions about respecting family traditions. I blocked most of them. The few I answered got the same response. This is what's happening. You're welcome to come or not. Your choice. What surprised me most was how many people said yes. Ben's family immediately booked their flights. About damn time, his mother said. I've been watching your family treat you like an afterthought for years. Go show them what you're made of, sweetheart. My college roommate screamed so loud when I told her that I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Yes, God, yes, I am so there. I'm bringing my camera. This is going to be legendary. Marcus, my best friend from work, cried. Actually cried. Mia, do you know how long I've waited for you to do something like this? Something that's just for you? I'm not missing this for anything. Even people I hadn't expected started confirming. Ben's childhood friends, my former professor who'd always believed in me, colleagues who'd watched me work twice as hard for half the recognition. One by one, 50 confirmations rolled in. 0 from my immediate family. I told myself it didn't matter, that I was doing this for me, not for them, that their absence was proof I'd made the right choice. I told myself a lot of things, but late at night, when Ben was asleep and the apartment was quiet, I'd look at photos from my childhood, Rachel and me in matching Christmas dresses, our parents beaming behind us, and wonder if claiming my space meant losing my history. Part 5. The preparation. Planning a wedding in Tuscany from a Boston apartment while working a full-time job should have been impossible. Instead, it became my obsession, my salvation. Signora Martinelli became my fairy godmother, guiding me through decisions with a patience that bordered on maternal. She connected us with Chiara, a wedding planner in Florence, who spoke perfect English and seemed to understand exactly what I wanted, even when I couldn't articulate it. You want magic, Chiara said during our first video call, her dark eyes sparkling. But real magic, not, come si dice, cupcakes and princesses, deep magic, the kind that changes people. Yes, I breathed, exactly that. Together, we built something extraordinary. The ceremony would take place in the villa's garden at sunset, under an arbor dripping with white wisteria and garden roses. A string quartet would play Vivaldi as I walked down an aisle lined with olive branches and votives. The reception would be in the villa's courtyard, under lights strung between ancient stone columns, long tables covered in ivory linen, gold flatware, and centerpieces of local wildflowers and herbs. A menu designed by a Michelin-starred chef featuring local truffles, handmade pasta, Tuscan wines. We'd hire a photographer who'd studied Renaissance painting and promised to capture not just moments, but emotion. A videographer who'd won awards for destination weddings. A band that played everything from Italian classics to American jazz. For the week leading up to the wedding, our guests would stay in converted stone farmhouses scattered across the estate. We'd arranged wine tours, cooking classes, trips to Florence and Siena, a vacation wedding, a celebration that lasted days, not hours. The cost climbed higher and higher, $150,000, $175,000, $190,000. We should stop, I'd say, looking at our dwindling account. Not yet, Ben would counter. Not until it's perfect. 6 weeks before the wedding, my mother called again. Mia, please. Rachel is devastated. She's considering postponing her wedding. She should do what's best for her. This is tearing the family apart. No, Mom, this is revealing what was already broken. Can't you just compromise? Come to Rachel's wedding and we'll come to yours. They're on the same day. Exactly. So one of you needs to change the date. I'm not changing mine. Then you're being unreasonable. I hung up. But this time, my hands didn't shake. We arrived in Tuscany 7 days before the wedding. along with Ben's parents and Zara, who'd taken 2 weeks off to help us prepare. The drive from Florence to Villa Rosa took an hour, winding through countryside so beautiful it didn't seem real. Rolling hills covered in vineyards, cypress trees standing like sentinels, stone farmhouses with terracotta roofs glowing in the afternoon sun. When we rounded the final curve and saw the villa for the first time, I gasped. The photos hadn't lied. If anything, they'd undersold it. Villa Rosa rose from the hillside like something from a Renaissance painting. 3 stories of honey-colored stone with arched windows, wooden shutters, and a tower topped with a weather vane. Gardens terraced down the slope, full of roses and lavender and herbs I couldn't name. The views stretched forever, across vineyards and olive groves to distant blue mountains. Signora Martinelli met us at the entrance, a tiny woman in her 70s with silver hair and eyes like black olives. She kissed both my cheeks and held my face in her hands. "Bella," she said simply, "welcome home." Over the next 3 days, our guests arrived in groups. Ben's boisterous family, who immediately made themselves at home, my work friends, who kept crying at how beautiful everything was, college friends I hadn't seen in years, who kept hugging me and whispering, "You did it, you really did it." We spent our days touring the countryside, tasting wine, eating until we couldn't move. The evenings we gathered in the villa's courtyard, cooking together, playing cards, telling stories. It felt less like a wedding preparation and more like claiming a new family, one we'd chosen, one that had chosen us back. 2 days before the wedding, as the sun was setting and we were all sprawled across the terrace after another massive meal, I found myself sitting next to Ben's mother, Patricia. "You okay, honey?" she asked. "I think so." "They're not coming, are they?" I shook my head. She squeezed my hand. "Their loss. But for what it's worth, I'm so damn proud of you. My whole life, I taught my kids to be kind, to be considerate, to think of others. But I forgot to teach them that sometimes you have to be kind to yourself first. You learn that on your own. That takes courage." I leaned my head on her shoulder and watched the sun sink into the Tuscan hills, surrounded by people who loved me, not because I made things easy, but because they actually saw me. Part 7, the wedding day. September 23rd dawned clear and golden. I woke up in my room at the villa, a space with frescoed ceilings and windows that overlooked the gardens, to birdsong and the smell of roses. Zara was already awake, setting up her camera equipment. "Morning, bride," she said. "Ready to make history?" The day unfolded like a dream. Hair and makeup in the villa's library, surrounded by books and soft morning light. My dress, a simple silk gown I'd found at a boutique in Boston, seemed to glow against the ancient stone walls. Fresh flowers woven into my hair by a local florist who kept murmuring, "Bellissima." At 3 p.m., Chiara knocked on my door. "There's someone here to see you." My heart leapt. Had they come? Had my family? But it was Ben, technically breaking tradition by seeing me before the ceremony. I know. Bad luck, but I needed to give you something." He handed me a letter, handwritten on heavy paper. "Mia, I've been thinking about what to say in my vows, and I realized that the most important thing I need to tell you isn't about how much I love you. It's this. Thank you for being brave enough to want more. Thank you for refusing to shrink. Thank you for teaching me that love doesn't mean sacrifice. It means elevation, lifting each other up to heights we couldn't reach alone. Whatever happens today, whoever comes or doesn't come, know this. You are worth every penny we spent, every moment of planning, every leap of faith. You are worth a villa in Tuscany and a lifetime of choosing ourselves. I can't wait to marry you." Ben, I was crying before I finished reading. At 6 p.m., as the sun began its descent toward the hills, I walked through the villa's garden on Patricia's arm, She'd offered, and I'd accepted gratefully, toward an arbor covered in white flowers, where Ben waited. 50 people stood as I passed. Not the 200 we'd originally planned for Boston, but 50 people who'd flown across an ocean to be here. 50 people who'd never once questioned whether I was worth the investment. The ceremony was short. We'd written our own vows, promising not just to love each other, but to continue choosing ourselves, choosing growth, choosing authenticity over comfort. When we kissed, the string quartet launched into a joyful Italian folk song, and our guests cheered so loudly that birds erupted from the nearby trees. The reception was magic. We ate and danced and laughed as the sky turned from gold to pink to deep purple. The food was spectacular. Handmade pappardelle with wild boar ragu, bistecca fiorentina, fresh mozzarella that tasted like clouds. The band played everything from Dean Martin to Beyoncé, and even Signora Martinelli was pulled onto the dance floor. Around midnight, Marcus grabbed the microphone. "I need to say something," he announced, slightly drunk on Chianti. "I've known Mia for 5 years. In that time, I've watched her work harder than anyone else in our office. I've watched her solve impossible problems. I've watched her make everyone around her better. But I've also watched her make herself smaller, quieter, more convenient. And I've wanted to shake her and say, 'Don't you know you're a supernova?' But I couldn't make her see it. She had to see it herself." He looked at me, eyes shining. "This week, this wedding, this isn't just about Mia and Ben getting married. It's about Mia finally taking up the space she deserves. It's about her saying, 'I am worth this. I am worth beauty and investment and celebration.' And you know what? She's fucking right. So here's to Mia, who taught us all that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's sacred." Everyone raised their glasses, and I ugly cried into Ben's shoulder while our friends cheered. Part 8. The morning after. I woke up the next morning to light streaming through the windows and Ben's arm across my waist. We were married. We were in Tuscany. We'd done it. My phone, which I'd mostly ignored for the past week, showed 63 new messages. Most were congratulations from guests, still processing the magic of the night before, but 7 were from my mother. I almost didn't read them, almost deleted them without looking, but Ben saw me hesitating and squeezed my hand. "Whatever it says, we handle it together." I opened them in order. Rachel's wedding was beautiful. Everyone asked where you were. I showed them the photos from your social media. Mia, I don't even know what to say. Your villa, the gardens, the sunset, everything. It looked like something from a movie. Call me when you can, please. There was a photo attached to the last message. I opened it. It was a screenshot of one of Zara's Instagram posts. Me and Ben kissing under the wisteria arbor, the Tuscan hills golden behind us, the light making everything glow like a Renaissance painting. Zara had captioned it, "When you choose yourself, the universe chooses you back." The photo had 12,000 likes. Below my mother's messages were 3 from Rachel. "I saw your wedding photos. Jesus, Mia." I can't even be mad anymore. I didn't respond. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I needed more time to understand what I was feeling. This mixture of vindication and sadness, triumph and loss. Instead, I pulled Ben out of bed, and we walked through the villa's gardens in the morning light. Our guests were slowly emerging, gathering in the courtyard for the farewell breakfast Signora Martinelli had prepared. More handmade pasta, fresh bread, local cheeses and olives that tasted like sunshine. Patricia caught my eye across the table and mouthed, "Proud of you." Zara was already editing photos, laptop balanced on her knees, occasionally squealing and showing people images from the night before. Marcus was teaching Ben's dad a drinking song in Italian, both of them laughing helplessly. This was family. Not the people who shared your blood, but the people who showed up, who crossed oceans, who witnessed your becoming without asking you to shrink back down. We stayed in Tuscany for 3 more days after our guests left, wandering through Florence's museums, eating gelato for breakfast, making love in our villa room while church bells rang in the distance. On our last morning, Signora Martinelli found me in the garden. "You know," she said, settling onto the bench beside me, "the most beautiful weddings are not the ones with the most money or the most guests. They are the ones where people are brave, where they choose themselves even when it costs them. Your wedding, Bella? Very brave." "I lost my family," I said quietly. "No, you lost people who never learned to see you. Not the same thing." She patted my hand. "Family is not who raised you. Family is who recognizes you, who looks at you and says, 'Yes, there you are. I see you. You have more family now than when you arrived, no?'" She was right. I'd come to Tuscany with Ben and 50 guests. I was leaving with an entire network of people who'd witnessed my transformation, who'd seen me choose myself and loved me more for it, not less. The flight home was bittersweet. Leaving Tuscany felt like leaving a version of myself I'd only just discovered. But Ben held my hand the whole way, and when we landed in Boston, our apartment somehow looked different. Smaller, yes, but also full of possibility. We'd spent our house fund. We'd spent our safety net. We were starting from zero again, but we weren't the same people who'd left. Part X, the aftermath. The messages from my family continued sporadically over the next few weeks. My mother trying to bridge the gap without actually apologizing. My father gruff and uncomfortable with emotion. Rachel swinging between resentment and what might have been respect. I responded to none of them. Not because I was angry, but because I was busy. Busy with my life, my marriage, my friendships. The career I'd been neglecting in favor of being convenient. The hobbies I'd abandoned because they seemed selfish. The dreams I'd deferred because they felt too big. Zara's photos from the wedding went viral. Not Hollywood viral, but enough that a wedding magazine reached out, wanting to feature our story. I said no. This wasn't about fame or recognition. It was about the private knowledge that I'd bet on myself and won. 3 months after the wedding, on a Saturday morning while Ben and I were having coffee in our apartment, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find my mother standing there, looking smaller than I remembered. "I didn't know if you'd answer if I called," she said. So I drove up. We stood there for a long moment, the threshold between us feeling impossibly wide. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. She sat on my couch, the one I'd bought with my own money, in the apartment I'd rented with my own effort, and looked around like she was seeing it for the first time. "She brought you something," she said, pulling an envelope from her purse. "It's not much. It's not $75,000, but it's what I should have given you from the beginning." Inside was a check for $5,000, the original amount they'd planned to contribute, and a card. I opened it. My mother's handwriting, usually so perfect, was shaky. "Mia, I saw the photos from your wedding. I saw the way you looked at Ben. I saw the beauty and the joy and the life you created. I saw 50 people who loved you enough to cross an ocean. I saw what you built when you stopped waiting for us to give you permission. I'm sorry. I'm so deeply sorry. I didn't see you. I didn't value you. I told myself I was being practical, but I was being cruel. You deserved $75,000. You deserved $750,000. You deserved parents who made you feel like you were worth the investment. I can't undo the years of making you second, but I can tell you this. Watching you choose yourself was the most important lesson you've ever taught me. You showed me what happens when you refuse to be diminished. I'm proud of you. I should have said that every day. I love you, Mom." I read it twice, then a third time. Ben came to stand beside me, his hand on my shoulder. "What do you want to do?" he whispered. I looked at my mother. This imperfect woman who'd failed me in 1,000 ways, who'd chosen my sister over me repeatedly, who taught me I was only valuable if I was convenient. But also, this woman who'd driven 4 hours to sit in my apartment, who'd written these words in her shaky hand, who was trying, finally, to see me. I thought about Villa Rosa, about the villa manager who'd called me Bella, about Ben's letter, about Marcus's toast, about every person who'd shown up for me when it mattered. I thought about the woman I'd been, the one who folded herself small, who understood, who accommodated. And I thought about the woman I was becoming, the one who took up space, who demanded reciprocity, who believed she was worth the investment. You can't fix this with one apology, I said finally, and you can't fix it with a check. This is going to take time, maybe years, maybe forever. I don't know if we can get back what we lost. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. But, I continued, I'm willing to try, not because I need you, but because I want to see if you're capable of meeting me where I am now, of seeing the woman I've become instead of the girl who used to accommodate you. I want to try, she whispered. I want to see you, really see you. We talked for 3 hours that day, not about the wedding or Rachel or the money, about everything else, about my childhood, about the patterns we'd fallen into, about the ways she'd failed me and why, about what I needed going forward, about boundaries and expectations and the hard work of rebuilding. It wasn't fixed, not by a long shot, but it was a beginning. Part 11. 1 year later. I'm writing this from our new apartment, a bigger place we saved up for, month by month, slowly rebuilding our financial foundation. The walls are covered with photos from Tuscany. Zara's shot of us under the wisteria, Ben and me laughing with Marcus, the sunset over the villa gardens, the long tables under the stars. Every time I look at them, I remember what it felt like to choose myself. My relationship with my mother is still complicated. We have lunch once a month. She came to our 1-year anniversary dinner. She's learning to ask about my life without centering Rachel's. It's progress. Slow, imperfect progress. Rachel and I don't really talk. Maybe someday we will, or maybe we won't. I'm learning to be okay with that uncertainty. But here's what I know for sure. The villa in Tuscany cost me $190,000 and my family's approval. In return, I got something more valuable. Proof that I was worth the investment. Proof that choosing myself wasn't selfish but necessary. Proof that I could build something extraordinary when I stopped waiting for permission. People ask me sometimes if I regret it, if I wish I'd been more practical, if I think about what we could have done with that money. The answer is no, not even for a second. Because that money didn't just buy us a wedding. It bought me myself. And that's worth everything. Epilogue. Last month, we received a letter from Signor Martinelli. She wrote to tell us that she's retiring and asked if we'd like to return to Villa Rosa for her farewell celebration. She said our wedding was one of the most meaningful events she'd witnessed in 30 years. We're going back to Tuscany in the fall. This time, we're bringing my mother. She asked if she could come, really asked, not assumed, and I said yes, because I think it's important for her to see the place where I became someone who wouldn't settle for being second. Maybe she'll understand it better in person. Maybe she'll see what it cost me and what it gave me. Or maybe she'll just see a beautiful villa in the hills of Tuscany. Either way, I'll be there with Ben, in a place that holds our story, standing in the garden where I first learned what it means to take up space. And that's enough. That's everything.